Blue Beetle actor Xolo Maridueña says goal of film is to tell people that Hispanics can be superheroes. You might remember this guy. He's the main character on the Cobra Kai series, or one of the main characters. He's the main male character. But he recently spoke with Empire about the film, and he said, this is what he said. I mean, he said the goal was to create a movie for a young me and a young Angel Manuel Soto, the film's director, that said, hey, man, someone who looks like you or comes from a similar background can be a superhero, clearly referring to him and Soto being Hispanics. And then that's what he's saying. Someone who looks like you or comes from a similar background can be a superhero. Like, we haven't seen Hispanic superheroes for over centuries now.
Well, let's just turn
ridiculous.
Let's just turn back the label-itis we've got going on here. So Superman never inspired anybody other than citizens of Kansas, because I don't know anybody who lives on Krypton. So only Kansasites. I assume New Jerseyans who are citizens of Gotham are the only people that's inspired by Batman.
Only people that live in the fictional world of Gotham can be inspired by Batman.
Apparently, only Themyscirans can be inspired by Wonder Woman. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yeah.
It's very silly to go around and say that the character looks like me, so I'll listen to it. That's the peak of racism, by the way. That's the tippity top that I won't listen to anybody else unless they look like me. That's the tippity top of racism right there. But no, irregardless, like, what's the point of this? What are we hoping to accomplish? Is just differentiate every superhero just because they come from a different place? What if they just save people? Wouldn't that be neat? If they were just like, hey, I saved you. See you later. And that's all they did. It'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
Imagine that, right?
Remember when Superman saved cats from trees and didn't go to the taco shop afterwards?
It's so utterly absurd. It's just insane that they always have to sell this crap, and then they themselves know that it's an absolute joke, a lie, and they usually admit it later on in other interviews. So they'll be like, "Oh, I was always inspired by Batman to be a superhero. I love being Batman. I love pretending, throwing my batarangs and everything like that to be Batman." And it's like, well, what? Why is this stopping other people from doing this stuff? It's just
like
stupid.
The Little Mermaid. She's like, I love the movie growing up. It was wonderful. It taught me how to sing. And then, bang! I couldn't relate to the movie. It was really difficult. I'm glad I have the opportunity to recontextualize it for African Americans.
I saw a Stone Toss comic that does it perfectly, and it's a girl looking at the Little Mermaid. It's like, look, mommy, that's me. And then it's like a bunch of dudes looking at Goku and being like,
yeah, exactly. And by the way, the peak of power to Akira Toriyama was a blonde guy with blue eyes. No, it's not racist. It's just what this guy thought. That's it.
His hair does turn blue in later.
The legendary Super Saiyan, the very first transformation is blue hair, blue eyes, and blonde hair.
Yeah.
And that's all of it's corporate after that, because that was his original story. It was ending with Frieza. So at that point, the peak of power was golden hair and blue eyes. Now, I'm not saying that's Hitlerish. I'm not saying that's propaganda for white supremacists. I'm just saying, as a creator, he found that to be what he thought was the peak of power, okay? That's all that meant to him. It didn't mean anything else.
It just looked cool.
Yeah. And so again, why can't Jaime Reyes just be a cool guy? Why does he have to be a Hispanic tentpole to be like, look, you could be a superhero too, even if you're Hispanic, because somehow you couldn't before.
Yeah, what's hilarious is that this Miles Morales movie just came out, and they market him as a Afro Latino character. So it's just like, what? We just had a sequel come out based on an Afro Latino character, and you're gonna try and pull a Marvel and this is the first of. Do you think we're stupid? No, come on.
They're gonna pull the whole well, he's Black Latino. This is Latino.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Latinx. 100%. This is Latinx. Oh, he said Hispanic. Oh no.
Susan Sarandon did call him Latin X or Latinx or however you want to say it. We'll get to that. But yeah, so this is the other goal that he added for the film. Was the second thing was to open more doors for people like us. As fun as it is to get into the superhero world where everything is dialed up to 110%, It's the characters that I've most related to. Dude, you were on Cobra Kai. Like, what are you talking about? I just like.
So wait, Jaime Reyes. The trailer begins with him cleaning someone else's house.
Yes.
So being a stereotypical racist caricature. Yeah, so being a racist caricature of Latino Americans, of Hispanic Americans. That's what you relate to, kid. Cool.
Yeah, the whole movie, based on that first trailer, looks like it's going to be like an illegal immigration allegory. Which isn't surprising, given that the director he wished that Donald Trump would get assassinated, and he thinks Puerto Rico is a slave state, which we've got the receipts in this article as well that show that.
You just have to ask yourself, is there a point to this? And there usually isn't, because again, like George Lopez could have created this entire thing in a skit in his television show, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That first trailer could have been a skit in the George Lopez show. Wouldn't tell the difference.
So he goes on and says this, that he's hoping that the character will be able to continue on in James Gunn's DC universe. He's really excited that the character could be in Justice League, or this movie will launch a trilogy or something like that. He says, if we get one movie or a trilogy and fold this into the Justice League stuff, I forgot to censor that. We're ready for the whole 9. So apparently they seemingly have a plan, which I doubt, because no one in Hollywood seems to have any kind of plans whatsoever anymore, as evidenced by everything coming out of Marvel Studios, the Walt Disney Company. Maybe DC does have a plan. I feel like they're just throwing stuff at the wall as well. I know Gunn laid out like a bunch of 10 things that he's working on, but it kind of like contradicted what he said. We want to do these big tent poles and big brands with like Batman and Superman, and then introduce characters within those to then do spinoffs. But then his literally like second movie is an old like Wildstorm
Creature Commandos.
Universe. Yeah. Well, no, that's the TV show for HBO for Max or whatever now. The other one, it's the Authority. It's like a C-list superhero team.
It's just a clone of the Justice League.
It's an Image Comics clone of the Justice League that they brought in with Jim Lee's Wildstorm stuff, and they're now within DC. But again, it's like a knockoff Justice League, knockoff Avengers, and they're like CD list, and the whole announcement of that film contradicts what Gunn said about we want to introduce characters in our big Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman movies, and then have spinoffs similar to how basically they introduced Black Panther in Captain America Civil War, and then he got his own film a couple years later. Well, Gunn's out here being like, yeah, this is what we want to do, but you know what? Our second big film after Superman Legacy is going to be The Authority. It's like, what? Like, what happened to this plan you said you have? So I don't think they have any plans over there as well.
This honestly
I wouldn't be trying to put any plans together anyways, because pretty much the things that first things they come out are just crap and usually die anyways. Die on the vine before they even get going.
This sounds like to me that the cast was sitting around daydreaming. That's what this sounds like. Because it looks if we get a movie or if we get one movie or a trilogy, all right, that's talking completely out of their butt. Thor has had 4 movies. Iron Man got 4 movies. So trilogy's nothing anymore. Doesn't mean anything anymore. The Justice League SHIT, right? So he does it again.
Iron Man only had 3. Are you considering Civil War?
Oh, right. One? You're right. He only got 3. That's right.
I consider that. I really consider that Captain America Civil War.
It's really Avengers 2.5. But either way, the situation with this though is that the trilogy doesn't matter. So this guy's talking out of his butt. He goes on to say Justice League SHIT. That's not the way you talk about a franchise you're going to be joining. Yeah. You say the new Justice League arc. Maybe I'll be part of the new Justice League arc. That's how you talk about that when you know what you're talking about. And then when he goes and says, we kicked $$ with this movie sign, that's not the talk of somebody that's got a future. That's the talk of somebody that's like, you got to see this, guys. You really got to see it. I'm going to be poor if you don't. Please see it. That's the speech of somebody overselling what their product is, because they don't know. They don't know.
And this is what we've seen. We've seen this with all of the films after they announce the gun stuff. Like they all come out and say this kind of stuff. You need to go to the box office to see it. That's the only way it'll survive. And then no one goes to see it at the box office. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is out there being like, yeah, I talked with James Gunn and we're pretty much not going anywhere. And that's like been the best one. The 400, I think it did like 400 million or something globally. And then Shazam obviously just dead. We'll see what happens with The Flash. I have seen some, I guess, more recent box office predictions have been having it go up a little bit in its opening weekend. I know there was an initial prediction of like 70 million, which is just absolutely abysmal.